Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, Gin and Gypsies. I am so excited about this episode. I've been waiting for a really long time to shoot this, and it's gonna be all about my favorite place in the entire world, the Palace of Versailles. Before we get started, we need a drink. And since we're talking about France, I thought it'd be appropriate to do something besides gin, such as French champagne. Today we'll be having one of my favorite French champagnes, and I apologize in advance because I am terrible at French and I will not be able to pronounce this correctly. Veuve Clicquot. I apologize for probably butchering the name, but it's really, really good champagne. It's like $45. If you feel fancy and you want to spend that money, then go for it. Well, it's time to get drunk and talk about palaces we can't afford. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know for a perfect trip to the Palace of Versailles. To be honest, I think you're going to need 2 days to really see everything that the palace has to offer. It's a huge estate and it's got a lot of property, and if you really want to take it in, you got to have 2 days. I advise anyone who's traveling anywhere, if you can get the tickets in advance online, please go ahead and buy that. And you can buy the ones for the Palace of Versailles on their website. I would buy the 2-day passport on the website. I was very fortunate that a lot of my friends decided to visit me when I was in France. And every time I took them to the Palace of Versailles, I would do pretty much the exact same schedule. The first day would start out with a bike ride around the countryside of the state. You can rent these bikes in the gardens of Versailles. After you rent them, you want to take a stroll, maybe like a 30-minute ride down the estates. You'll see a lot of farmers, some sheep, maybe some goat if you're lucky, and then eventually make your way to your first stop, which would be the Petit Trianon. It is the house that Marie Antoinette was given after giving birth to the heir of France. Now, the Petit Trianon and the Grand Trianon were private houses on the estate. These were used by the kings and queens of the royal family during vacation times or just when they needed a break from the royal life of society at the palace. They had these special private houses. They'd have mini parties for their family and their closest friends. Now, the Petit Trianon is one of my favorite places because Marie Antoinette actually spent the last couple of years of her life before she was captured in the French Revolution. She loved living there. She even had her own mini village created there, that which you can see today. She wanted to know what it was like to, I guess, live like a peasant. So she had the builders built like a tiny little village and chicken coops, and she learned how to pick her own eggs, and she wanted fresh milk in the morning, so she had cows on her land. I mean, it was just really strange back then that a queen of such a high status wanted to live as a peasant. She also had her own theater on this property. She was a huge theater fan even when she was little, and when she started court in France, she started putting her own productions. So she would act on stage for 250 of her closest friends at this theater. You walk into this house and you'll see where she ate and where she slept, and you'll see how intimate it was. And that's where she spent most of her time with her children. She wanted to show them other sides of life besides the royal court at the palace. As you can see, she lived a very extravagant life. I can see why people wanted to chop her head off, but she's still my role model. Next, you're going to take your bike and you're going to ride all the way down to the Grand Trianon. The Grand Trianon was used by many kings, but its main focus today is on the Emperor Napoleon. He spent most of his time here with his wife. Most of the rooms are a little bit more modernized than, let's say, the main palace and the Petit Trianon. In my opinion, a little bit more English than French. The way that they designed the rooms, it's definitely more late 1800s than, say, the rest of the palace. The rest of the palace, you'll see, is very 17th century, more eccentric and opulent. Before you go home, definitely check out the garden and the Grand Trianon. There is a beautiful pavilion outside of the garden, and it literally shows you the Grand Canal. And I will tell you this right now, it is so beautiful to watch when the sun goes down. It literally feels like you're back in time, and you're in the palace where magic used to happen back then. By now, I'm sure you're biked out and ready to take a nap. I fully support that. Please go take a nap. You won't regret it. If you're feeling a little bit, like you're too excited that you're in France and you can't sleep, definitely get a drink at my favorite bar, No Water. I love this bar. I went there almost every single night that I was living in France this summer. My favorite person works there as well. Her name is Marie, and she will take care of you with the drinks. And if you are still hungry, my guy Mateus will hook you up with some amazing cheese and bread. That's all I've got for part 1 of Versailles. Stay tuned for next week for part 2, which we will go into the palace. I'm really excited about this. This is literally the reason why I started doing traveling videos. So please like it, share, subscribe, do whatever you want with it. I'll see you next week. Okay, I got it. Ready? I have to...